I missed it.
I just love you guys, and I appreciate you being here for us, and I appreciate you doing the things that we are doing, and I appreciate you building this. Please like this episode, as well as every other episode you do enjoy going on right now that I'm very excited about. And I see Doge, and I see the realignment of the educational system coming together for a real unique opportunity that we haven't had in a long time. And that's exciting more and more each day. It all comes back to coming back to yourself, taking your, you have three brains, right? You have the brain of the head, you have the brain of the heart, and you have the brain of the gut, gut instinct, right? I would love to really be able to get into some comfortable situations where we can start feeding back into the community that we haven't had in a long time. If we take the right approach, we have the ability to really dramatically affect not only the children growth, we could start turning revenues and rolling them into, for instance, here in this small town, seeing what kind of effects we have. We have coming up very shortly, as much as we should. And I think this is probably the strongest because it has emotion as well. And then those two signal to the brain to send out the chemicals that do the work that needs to be done according to whatever I have already talked a little bit about it with Emma on Emma Lynn and Grandpa Rodd. All right. Well, first of all, my apologies. We had some technical things we had to work through, and it was a couple moments of being extremely challenged. But with that said, everybody, welcome back. This is Insights and Straight Talk. I'm Rodd Duff, alongside producer Barbie, as always, The Rock. And today, this one right here, this one matters. Because we're not just talking about stress today. Nope. We're not just talking about burnout. We're talking about something deeper, something that I think a whole lot of people, especially in the great middle class, are living inside of, even without realizing it. And we've talked about this before. It's called survival mode. Now, before we even bring our guest in, I want you to think about that for a second. Sit with it. How many people right now are doing everything they're supposed to do? They're working, they're raising families, they're showing up, they're pushing through, and yet something still feels off. Not broken, but not right either. Like your body is tired, your mind won't shut off. And no matter how hard you try to think positive or push through it, it just doesn't stick. You know what I mean? Here's the truth. Maybe it was never a mindset problem to begin with. Maybe it's something deeper, something wired into the body itself. Now, before we go any further, I want to thank the people and partners who continue to believe in what we're building here. The Mangum City Library right here, it's not just a building, but as a cornerstone of a community, education, and access. And actually tomorrow at 11 o'clock, as part of our 13 Voices of Mangum, we have the director of the library, and we have part of the council or the board of the library on. It's going to be a really interesting conversation. And then another of our partners is Mary Putri. You know her from her book, Fat Mary. She will be joining somebody I affectionately call Ms. Monroe. Marilyn is her name, and she's a trainer at Total Fitness here in the gym. So we're going to be talking about that health structure, both from a nutrition standpoint as well as from building muscle, which I believe is extremely important, especially the older as we get. And then there's the Regeneration School Project, the Mangum 2030 Initiative, and Voices at the Table, all working towards something bigger than any one of us. Building systems that actually support people where they are. And of course, our growing community across YouTube, Substack, the different social medias, because honestly, without you, these conversations, they just don't move. Now, today, we've got a guest who brings something different to the table. Not theory, not surface level advice, but lived experience. And you know how important that is. Backed by real work. That's the key right there. We're joined by Jenny Lee, founder of Mindwave and the creator of the neural sound bath method. We were just talking about that backstage. I'm so excited about this. It's been around forever, but socially, to us, like we say, this technology is this ability is now in your hands, just shortly. So, and what caught my attention about it is Jenny's story in this. She didn't just study this; she lived it for decades. She lives in survival mode, navigating stress, trauma, ADHD, depression, and doing what so many people are taught to do. Push through it. Keep going. Just keep going, man. Handle it until one day that stops working. And I've been there. And instead of masking it, instead of ignoring it, she went deeper into the nervous system, into how the body actually handles stress. The body handles stress, processes safety, and responds to pressure. And what she found is something fascinating, something I think is going to land with a lot of you today. You can't outthink a dysregulated nervous system, right? Let that sit for a second. Because if that's true, then it changes how we look at everything. Literally, work, leadership, parenting, relationships, even how we understand ourselves. We talk a lot about from the inside out. So today, this is not going to be one of those conversations where we just talk about problems. We're going to get into what survival mode actually looks like in everyday life, why people shut down, burn out, or feel stuck, what's happening inside the body, not just the mind. It's important. And most importantly, what you can actually do about it. Starting today, real tools, real understanding, and real conversation. So wherever you're watching from today, whether it's here in Mangum, whether you're watching us on YouTube, on LinkedIn, wherever you are, lean in. Because if you've been feeling overwhelmed, if you've been running on empty, if something inside you has been saying, there's got to be another way, this might be one of those conversations that helps you connect the dots. So what do you say, folks? We've waited long enough. Let's get into it. This real insights and real talk. I said that totally wrong, but you know what I mean. How are you, Jenny?
I'm so good. Thanks, Rodd, for having me on the show. I'm just having a moment here because everything you said just nailed it all on the head so well. So thank you for that introduction.
Thank you very much. I've been extremely excited about this discussion. We do a lot on this show, as you probably imagine, on mental health and different aspects, different lanes, and different subjects we talk about. But in this subject, every once in a while, I say this every once in a while, I don't say it very often, but it's interesting to have somebody look at something through a different angle, a different lens. And that's this. And what we're talking about today is something I don't know a lot about, but we talked about it backstage. This is fascinating. We already have 200 people on. So why don't you talked about a story and kind of as people are warming up oh, wow, we have 9 questions already.
Oh, this is going to blow people's minds. So I can't wait.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's get into the opening story. And usually I like to have people have time to come in and get their Chewbacca ready and all that stuff. But
just know that there's nothing off the table. I am so open to answer any questions. The reason why I'm here is to share my true, authentic story so that it can help shed light for others to feel that they're not alone. So I am the living proof that if I can get through all of the challenges I was faced, you absolutely can. And I'm here with a methodology that really helps create the beginning stages of lasting transformation. All
Yeah,
right.
and that's the key. I mean, and again, building from the inside out, but lasting transformation.
So I'm
Yep.
going to start with 7 years ago. I was in my kitchen, pacing back and forth with my fists clenched and buzz on gin. I screamed at my husband as he walks out the door, "Get the hell out of here and don't come back." I feel like I'm drowning and no one's here to save me. I'm chopping vegetables for my son's lunch. I can't take this anymore. I'm going to end this now. I turn the knife towards my chest, and just then my husband comes up behind me and grabs me by the wrist and yells, "What the hell are you doing? Are you crazy?" And that's when I heard it. "Mommy!" It was my 3-year-old son, Blake. I dropped to the ground and I held him so tight. I can't keep doing this. I'm going to lose my children for good if this doesn't change now. I don't want this for my children. I don't want them to live the life that I did. What kind of monster have I turned into? I'd spent my life trying to protect my children from the same emotional damage and trauma that I endured and grew up with, only to realize in that moment that I was the one passing it on. That same day, I walked into the clinic and I told the doctor everything. And instead of judging me, she shared her story. She looked me straight in the eyes and she said, "Jenny, you're not alone. Maybe asking for help isn't a weakness. Maybe this was the beginning of finally truly healing." That day, I said yes to support, yes to medication, yes to the tools that felt foreign and uncomfortable at first, but ultimately it saved my life. That yes opened the door to yoga, meditation, fitness, and sound healing. And over the years, I began to understand the nervous system and how it shapes everything that we think, feel, and do. And in that space, I made a vow to never take the easy way out again through numbing or avoidance. But most importantly, I made a sacred promise to myself to never abandon myself or sabotage or betray myself again. And today, I get to help everyday people who are feeling overwhelmed, stressed, lost, confused. I get to help them find peace for a moment to reconnect to their true, authentic self. And that's how it began.
Wow, that's man, you can feel it, right? You can feel it, and where we're going now is even more powerful than I thought it was, because I talk a lot, and I assume we all talk a lot, that we're a species, right? We're a human species. We're part of the animal kingdom. In that, we all have vibrations, right? That frequency that goes out 6 feet-ish or so in a circle, right? You can feel somebody coming up behind you. That's why, right? And this sound, this therapy, in connecting on that frequency level has been something that is dynamic and something that's not well known. And I can't wait to really dive into this. That was power, man, Jenny.
I had no idea if where do we even begin? Right? Just like everybody else out there, I thought that I was completely alone. Like, excuse my language, but I thought I was, so fucked. I was so fucked. I was unfuckable. And I just thought, you know what? There is no healing this. There is no fixing this. There is just survival. And I didn't even know that was called fight or flight. That's all I knew. And so that became my reality. And that became this dark cloud that just kept following me my whole entire life since I was a very, very young little girl. And none of that made sense, but it did. And, all the things that we say are negative became my normal. And so anything that was negative was comfortable for me, and anything that was positive was very uncomfortable for me. And I can imagine how many people feel that way without even knowing it. And that's what you said about the frequency and the energy. That's the one thing, is that when we don't know, we don't know. But once you
Yes.
know, you start asking questions. And if you care enough and you're so sick and tired of it, you're going to start asking, how can I get a little bit more of this every day? And you're going to start chasing after that for questions and answers. And that's what I did.
And what you did is too often not done.
Yeah.
And I say that because literally in today's, I look at the numbers, the questions are just flying in already, systems about the nervous system, about burnout. How long does it usually take to see your nervous system to repair that, to reset it? Got a lot of great questions already started
I know.
here.
I can see that.
Can you see that?
Thank you so much, everyone. Yeah.
Absolutely. And what you said in the beginning, especially when you said, am I the only one? Am I here alone? How do I get through this? I know the fear. I do talk about now having a mask over my face,
Right.
a mask protecting me from the world, or in my opinion, from the world, protecting the world from who I am, because I had that same growing up. And that 70% of Americans, I don't know the worldwide number, all that stuff, 70% of adults and children are dealing with some sort of mental health.
Absolutely. More
Depression,
now than
ADHD,
ever. More now than ever. I say that, you know what? And I didn't even know that I had ADHD until a couple of years ago, when I was finally diagnosed, when I hit so many rock bottoms. And even after doing all the work, I'm like, what the hell is wrong with me? I've done so much work, more than the average person. My doctors, my psychiatrists, my medical team can see that. And why am I so messed up that I can't even fix myself with all the things that I learned? And there was that one missing link, and it was ADHD. And I was misdiagnosed for a very long time. I was put on
with
the
what?
wrong.
You were misdiagnosed with what?
Just anxiety and depression. But the anxiety and depression came from the ADHD because I didn't know how to manage that. I didn't even know that was a thing for me. And a lot of women and a lot of girls go under the radar and don't get diagnosed because it's all internal. Unlike boys and men, it's more external. And so we all know this, and we're starting to hear about it, but there's a stigma. So then there's a whole lot of hiding and masking things. And this is why we're here to talk about it. Just like yourself and just like me, we've lived through that, and we've come out on the other end where we have healed, where we are living our best life. And this is where it's our responsibility to discuss this openly, so that the people who used to be us, who didn't think there was a light at the end of the tunnel, we shed that light and help them and guide them there a little bit sooner than later. Because this isn't just, a conversation. This is not just life transformation. This is also saving people's lives. I wouldn't be here today. There's so many times that I would have not been here today, not just from that story, but from many times before that. Suicide was not unfamiliar to me. It was part of something that was very common for me, because when you hit rock bottom and you're at that point where you're just spiraling and there's no way out, you're just wondering, why are you even here anymore? Are you here just to continuously be tortured? And it's just the emotional pain. That's the problem, is everyone's too avoidant to deal with the emotional pain. We deal with the physical stuff, and we go to the gym, we hide it, we mask it, we use substance, we drink, we take drugs. But the one thing that nobody teaches us in society is how to sit with our emotions. And this is where it all comes into the whole nervous system. But also with the nervous system and what I do with sound healing, there's so many modalities out there. Where do you even begin? And I tried.
What do you mean
all
by
of them.
modality? Dig a little deeper here. I
So
know the word, but
yeah.
what do you mean by it?
Modalities are like methods, right? So there's yoga,
There you
there's
go.
meditation, there's fitness. There's so much in fitness where there's, you got your Pilates, you've got your CrossFit, you've got your jiu-jitsu, you've got everything that you can possibly think of. But if you think about it, all of that is just working on the physical stuff. That's just a distraction to exhaust you. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I absolutely love fitness. It's a dopamine hit for me. For me, someone like me who is addicted to chasing the dopamine, I'll just be honest. I have severe ADHD. Of course, I'm going to chase the dopamine. I didn't know it, but I do now. And that's the problem is when you're addicted to the dopamine, it could be good dopamine or bad dopamine. And in the beginning, when we don't know, we're chasing after the bad dopamine, sugar, eating tons and tons of sugar, right? Candy. For ADHDers like me, we don't like chocolate. We want candy. Give me the gummy bears, right? I want straight up sugar in gummy form, right? And we can eat a lot of it. I mean, ice cream and binge eating is just a comfort to mask emotional pain. Physical stuff, we exhaust ourselves so that we can just pass out and fall asleep. But did you ever try going to sleep intentionally when your brain is actually at a lower frequency? Because that's where it gets you to the REM sleep. There's so much about this that we can talk about it forever, but where do you want to begin, right?
So where I want to begin is going back a little bit, because you said something fascinating that was earlier that was fascinating to me. We talk about mental health a lot. So I've already said, put that aside.
Yeah.
One thing within all that is, there's a reputation that men up till now and still challenge about talking about things, opening up and letting themselves out, so to speak, right? To ask for help. You said you finally opened up to getting assistance. So there's that. And then a lot of boys were misdiagnosed as kindergartners because they have different outlets than women or girls. Yeah. So all of that I talk about. But you said something fascinating to me is your ADHD. And I don't hear a lot about that on with women. And you said that same thing I'm just saying, but is there really a thing as far as from a woman or a girl standpoint, having that as something they don't want to necessarily open up and discuss about? Is that kind of a similar thing? This is new to me. Talk to me about that.
It is, because at the beginning, like now that I'm healed and I know about my ADHD, I talk about it very openly because now it's just, I've rewired myself to accept that and be comfortable with it. But I remember 2 years ago, I got to the point where it was so bad and I didn't know what it was. I had to admit myself into rehab, but not a rehab for substance, not the kind of rehab that you hear about, all the people going to. It was a rehab for mental health. I didn't even know that existed in Canada.
I didn't either.
No.
So there's actually like AA for mental health kind of thing?
Kind of, yeah. So I didn't even, it's called CRICE. It's a crisis center. What? It's called
Crisis Center.
It's CRIS. It's an abbreviation for crisis. Like it's a short-term stay for people in crisis. So you're not suicidal enough to kill yourself, but you're on the verge.
I've been there, by the way.
Yeah.
There's many reasons I'm here where I shouldn't have been, or I should have been, but wasn't going to be. Go ahead, please.
I totally, absolutely understand that and resonate with that. I feel like it is a very heavy topic to talk about and it does scare people, but I'm not here to hide those truths, because there are people like myself and like yourself that needed to hear that back then to feel normal, to feel like we're not the only ones. Because when you get to that state, you're really at your ultimate low where you feel that there is no way out. And coming back to your question about the ADHD, this is where so many women do not get diagnosed. And then when you get diagnosed, you don't know what the hell to do with it. So I remember coming out of this rehab, and I went to this rehab because I had worked my butt off so long and I'm facilitating and healing people and it's working. But then I still hit this cycle. There's this vicious cycle that keeps going where you're high and you're low. And it's like, well, I'm not bipolar, but I feel like I'm bipolar, but technically I'm not. And they've already they've already checked. They questioned it, but I'm not. And it only feels bipolar because you have the two opposites. You're high, you're doing good, and then all of a sudden, boom, you're low. And it's like, where the hell did this come from? Like, I thought I was good. And then it's that cycle that keeps going and going and going. And then it kind of isn't as hard as it was before, but it's like, why am I still here? and then it's the burnout. So going through that cycle throughout your whole entire lifetime, that burnout eventually catches up. And I remember sitting at my doctor's office after 7 years of doing the work, like really hard work. I did all the things physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. So I was in fitness. I did a lot of fitness. I got addicted to the gym because of the dopamine hit, like so addicted that my social life was only at the gym. If you weren't at the gym, then I'm not hanging out with you. You want to hang out with me? Meet me at the gym and let's lift some weights, right? Let's get into some cardio. Then I went into yoga and meditation. Absolutely hated that. And for those of you who are out there, like, I can't do meditation, I can't do yoga, I was one of them. And the squirrels, right? So when I first started yoga, the only reason it started is because I entered a 90-day challenge. And when I went to the doctor, going back, the medication. This is what I fought for so long, because in my culture and my background, how I was raised, we go all natural. We don't rely on medication. It's all in your head, is what my mom would tell me, is it's in your head. Well, technically it is, but it isn't, right?
It's actually in your whole body.
Exactly. So it is kind of in your mind, because your mind does play a huge role in your reality. But the way she was kind of teaching me, sorry, mom, it wasn't right. It was kind of there, but not fully there. And so the thing is, see, there's the ADHD. It's like you just go in loops and then you forget what you were talking about. This is a real thing. So going back to that.
By the way, just to kind of to address that.
Yeah.
People know plenty on this show that it's a real thing.
It is,
because they deal with me every day. So
you have ADHD too?
Oh my God.
Oh my gosh. Okay. There's like we should just have a whole show on that. Honestly, 100%. When I came out of that rehab center, I thought I was going to rehab to fix why I kept having thoughts. So at this point, I've already done the work. I won the 90-day challenge. I did this 90-day challenge called Train Your Body, Feed Your Soul. And that was 3 months after I started taking medication for the first time in my life, which I fought for over 2 decades. So mental health was a huge struggle for me from way back when. And I mean, we can go into that, but that's a whole other story of how I got there. But let's just say there was a lot of trauma, every type of trauma you can possibly think of, probably more than this whole group combined together. But that was my story. And that's why it's made me very gifted in being able to share a lot of insights in different categories that people can resonate with. So coming back to the story of medication. This is something that maybe a lot of you have shame about. And I had so much guilt and so much shame that I rather struggle through these struggles of not taking medication just so that I wasn't part of the stigma, just so that I didn't feel abnormal, just so that I didn't get judged, right? And we lie to ourselves,
especially
to make
with
ourselves,
your background, especially with that
absolutely
negative additional versus people.
And there was no support. It's different if there's support of like, yes, take the medication, help yourself. But there was no support. So there was a lot of guilt. So I fought until that moment where that look on my son's face, I knew I had to change. Because when I realized that moment and I came back to reality that second when he screamed, mommy, that look on his face, that fear and thinking, oh my gosh, this child's only 3 years old. I have a 1-year-old upstairs that doesn't even understand anything. And she probably wouldn't even remembered me had I followed through. My son to this day, he's 11 now. He remembers things. How do you explain that? And if you weren't able to accomplish what you wanted to accomplish, now you're sitting with the shame of being exposed. So I had to take off the mask when I didn't want to take off the mask. I wasn't ready for that. I kind of got forced to because somebody found me in the worst way possible. And so at that point, there's nowhere left to run. People started asking questions like, what the hell is going on? My ex-husband didn't even know I was drinking at that time. I never drank. I'm allergic to alcohol. And I didn't grow up around alcohol, but I drank heavy for 2 years straight out of a gin bottle, locked up in a laundry room, crying my eyes out, pretending like everything was okay. And when everyone was asleep, I would go to the laundry room, stuff my face full of chocolate and candy, because that's my ADHD. And then I would drink straight out of a gin bottle to numb myself. And that's kind of like where medication helps, is like medication does numb you. It's a band-aid. It numbs your emotions and feelings, because when you get to that state, as you remember, the emotions just get too dysregulated that it's unbearable, right? I could deal with the physical pain of getting beat, of getting tortured, of getting, like abused, but emotional pain was crippling for me. I could not handle that, because when you go through so much pain, the funny thing is you have more compassion and empathy. So you become this empath, this person that has that is too sensitive. They called me too sensitive. And then if you have ADHD, you're even more sensitive. So you're too sensitive for everybody. You're too emotional for everybody. And so these feelings have to get repressed because everyone's telling you they're too much, because they're too much for you to handle. How can some other person who's normal handle that? And I didn't understand that as a child. And so I thought medication.
I'll even go with you a little bit further down that road, because it's funny, because I've kind of, through this process, right, I've kind of understood or started to think about the journeys that we're each on, our life's journey, right? And speaking about God and religion and faith, I think for so long I was living a life that I thought I was expected to live, and that didn't help, right? And so what happens is you start compartmentalizing, right? And put this here and that there, and shove that in that box and put that in there. And so you're that mask, and you continue to march down the road until one point, like I said in the opening monologue, up until the point where it no longer works. That doesn't work anymore. And for me, I was at a trade show. I built up a machinery business over 30 years, and I was there, and that happened at that moment. Producer Barbie was in the other room. We had a hotel thing going on, and literally the compartments just exploded. Until that moment, I had that breakdown. Yeah. Later, coming out of all that, doing the work, coming out of everything, I started to understand maybe there's something more to this, because I was living a life that wasn't truly me. It was the life that I chose.
And how many people do that? How many people?
Everybody.
It's just whether you're willing to admit it.
Well, and then after admitting it, getting on a path, all of a sudden now I'm, they talk about people in a different body and different, there's that whole thing going on, which that's another topic for another day. But within that, I felt that way. I felt like after going through that, now I'm on a journey that actually is the journey that I was meant to be on. And that also helps to start to shift that. And for me, this is just blowing me away, because it just makes so much sense. I want to ask you the banter show here, which is
we have so many good questions. I want to answer all these questions, and there's just so many things, right?
Let's start into it. I've skipped a bunch of them, as you probably can see, but I wanted to hit this because that's why I'm going to jump on and off every now and then, try and align them as they're coming in. But this is like you said, this is an awesome question. Thank you, Banter Show. How long does it usually take to reset the nervous system? So before you go into that, I always talk about it like this: the three brains, right? And what's actually happening, the brain isn't actually doing the brain. What the brain's doing is sending out the chemicals that these other brains are saying, hey, we're having this, we're having that. And if that dysregulated nervous system is off, maybe you're getting mixed signals. That's just popped into my head. I mean, that's a thought.
Yes.
Please build on that, would you?
So, oh my gosh, there's just so much about this.
So much.
I can blow your mind right now.
Do it.
For someone who I'm 41, or turning 41 in May, and I get it a lot that 20. I don't look 41, and that's because
20. You're lying to me. You're just 20. You're
I can show you my birth certificate. I mean, I guess it does help that I'm Asian. They say Asians don't raisin, but I've seen some Asians
good.
that do raisin, okay?
Mm,
So it all
mhm.
has to do with how you're taking care of yourself, because I actually looked
Love
older
that.
back then than I do now. I feel like I'm aging backwards because I'm actually in alignment of having
Mm,
coherence. And so
mhm.
going back to that question, and there's so many great questions. Thank you, everyone. And I'm going to actually go through all the questions. I want to answer them. Maybe
Absolutely.
not today, but we will get to them. How long does it take to regulate the nervous system? Now, that question is very tricky to answer because it all depends. It depends on where you're at and how open you are, and also what are you doing, right? Like again,
Good point. Good
modalities, the
point.
different modalities that you do. I came to learn that there are some modalities that all kind of come back to the nervous system in some form of helping regulate that nervous system. However, the process of that, depending on the person and how they receive it, is going to have a different timeline. But the one
Interesting.
thing is, why did I select sound healing out of all of them? Now, I didn't intend to create a business out of this. It actually started with, you know, my marriage falling apart. And I thought it was the marriage and the problems. And yes, it was part of the marriage and the problems in the marriage. And we were together for 20 years. I
Sure.
was 17 when I met him. But it
Wow.
was so many layers of factors. But at the end of the day, I came to the conclusion that even if it was a healthy relationship, I would have sabotaged it. Why? Because I was not emotionally regulated. I was not okay. I was not in the right mind frame. I was not healed. I had way too much baggage and shit that I had to heal myself on my own journey, regardless of who was there to support me. Right. And now the process of that, when I started yoga, fitness, meditation, those things took a long time, a long, long time for me to actually learn how to regulate my nervous system. And in fact, it didn't really target directly to regulate my nervous system. It did without me knowing. So when you go to the gym, you're getting the dopamine, you're doing the things and you feel good, but you don't understand why you feel good really to the science of the neuroscience of it. And yoga and meditation, the whole thing with that is, when I went into yoga, I did not voluntarily join yoga because I wanted to. I stayed far away from it because one, I thought it was a cult. Um, and you know, I thought I didn't
Whoa,
fit
whoa,
in.
whoa, whoa, hold on.
I
I
was very
remember,
against a lot of these things.
I hear you when I'm off stage. So you just said you thought yoga was a cult. I want to hear that broadened out just because
So
it's fascinating.
okay, it was so bad to the point that people call this stuff woo woo. I was so fearful of this stuff and didn't believe in it
Okay.
that I actually called
Okay.
it hokey pokey shit. And then I became the hokey pokey shit. How does that happen? Right. So, my first experience with yoga and meditation was only because I did a 90-day challenge. So, 3 months after I took medication, which I fought, but that day the doctor shut down the office for 2 hours and she's like, I am not letting you walk out of that office without the help that you need, because I was still fighting it even after all of that. And I was like, she's right. I completely wasted her whole entire time. And I'm all about integrity and respecting people's times and efforts. So I took the medication out of guilt that I didn't want her efforts to be wasted. But actually, it helped me. And so I'm not saying don't take medication. When I took medication, it actually helped me and put that band aid on. And so for 3 months, I felt great. I felt like I was on this high, but it also numbed my emotions to the point that I didn't give a shit about anyone or anything. I just was
Yeah.
feeling great. And that landed me in the gym. And landing in the gym at that time, I landed right into a 90-day challenge. And because it was a new gym, they had yoga, spin, and fitness. I only wanted the
As,
fitness.
as three different challenges
It's
using yoga, using the
yeah,
gym, using,
and
okay,
spin.
gotcha.
But there were
Okay.
different departments. So like there were sections in the gym. It's like a boutique gym and it was very trendy. And so they had the group fitness, they had the spin classes, and they had yoga. And the challenge was, if you wanted to win an all-inclusive trip to Mexico, like who doesn't want that? Right?
Absolutely.
Especially when you're trying to run away from life and your life is falling apart and you're a mom with young kids and you're like, I want to go on that trip with nobody, but I don't want to have people judge me for that. How do you end up going? Well, you win the trip, of course, because if you're taking money out of your bank account to go solo, to retreat and run away from life, how selfish is that? But a lot of moms are burnt out, and a lot of moms
True.
fantasize about
Good point.
just being able to have one little moment to not have to microwave their coffee 10 times to find it in the microwave the next day. So I justified it.
Gotcha.
I justified it in my head that I needed to run away so bad because I didn't know what I was going to do with my life. I was so miserable, but I was starting to become happier and fit. And I just needed a pause. And so I signed up for the 90 challenge, even though I hated yoga meditation. I knew it was going to be really challenging because not physically, but mentally, because my brain doesn't shut off. I have squirrels living in my brain.
It's hard.
But I'm like, you know what, whatever. It's worth
squirrel.
it. Right. Exactly. So it was worth it. So I'm going to do this if it's the last thing I do. And I signed up for the challenge. You have to do one of each class a week and you have to post it on social media. That's the accountability. Because for them, it's getting the marketing out.
So you're posting the actual
you proving that you went to your classes. So you have to take a picture or something to prove that you showed up at that gym that day, did a yoga class, did a spin class, and did a group fitness class in that week. 3 posts a week on your social media for everyone to see.
Very
and
cool.
I'm like,
good
okay.
Idea. Good idea.
It's super tricky, right? It's a good idea. You have to commit to it because you're going to look foolish if you don't make it. And I was just like never posting anything. And at this point, people watch me in and out of the hospital spiraling and just like, she's a shit show. She's just a chaotic mess, right? But I hid it really well up until people found out about it because I had the perfect picture life, you know? And so that gym did me a favor, but I wasn't using it for the right reasons. They were trying to help people have that lasting transformation. I was using it to run away from my life, doing the avoidant thing. So I told my girlfriend, I'm like, I'm signing up for this challenge. Pack your bags. We're going to Mexico because I'm going to bust my butt and we're going to win this because I want it so bad because I want to run away from my life so bad. And I won that challenge. But it was painful because yoga and meditation was my challenge. Spin I didn't like because it was like high intensity and I still have a love-hate with it. But yoga and meditation was the thing that really got me. I thought that laying there, maybe like stretching and stuff, okay, whatever. Oh my God. The first class, I was so angry and I didn't know why. One, because the first 5 minutes, I think it was 5 minutes, maybe it was even 2 minutes. I thought, oh my gosh, how long is this class? And where the hell is the clock? Like, what time is it? And I realized somebody had their phone on them and it was only 5 minutes in. And I thought, oh my God, this class is 1 hour. Holy smokes. How am I going to make it through the rest of this time when I'm living in my head the whole time? And all I can think about is my grocery list, my things to do, my emails, what the kids' sports are, every single thing but meditation, Zen, and yoga. And I thought, this is painful. And then at the end of the class, they do this shavasana, which is just laying there, right? In an extra 10 minutes of silence and stillness to just sit with your feelings and emotions. And at that time, I have never, ever faced my emotions or feelings on the deeper surface level. Maybe just the tantrum on the surface level, but the deep stuff, suddenly it started coming up. And I didn't know what the hell it was because I've never allowed for emotions like that to come out. I didn't even know they existed in there. And we did some hip openers and all this. And, you know, in yoga, they say, if you do the hip openers and all the hip stuff, emotions are stored in the hips. But we're talking about years and generations of emotions. So that gets stored in the hips. And there's different chakras too. If they go into energy, they call them chakras. So we have 7 energy discs in our body. Those are called chakra: the crown, the third eye, the throat, the heart, the solar plexus, sacral, and the root. Exactly. So it's just a fancy term of energy disc. Each one of these are just purely energy discs. So if you ever felt like you had that knot in your throat where you're just kind of like choked up and you want to say something, but you can't, that's your throat chakra. So that energy in your throat is because you're holding the energy of your truth. And so, you know, chakra sounds woo-woo.
So
we're diving into, I know there's going to be a lot of questions as I talk about things here.
I think there's to jump in right there. I think that you say it sounds woo-woo, but I think more and more and more as time is moving forward, the ancient recipes are starting to people are starting to understand
Yes.
that this is reality and this is what we need to get back to, because the body is the best healer of itself as long as we have the
100%.
tools, right?
Right. So even at the end of the day, even if you go into surgery and they fix you and they put things in you, at the end of the day, your body still has to heal you, right?
Mhm.
Even if you get
Mhm.
stitched up, what's healing you? It's
Mhm.
you, your body.
Yep.
The body is so powerful, but we don't give it enough credibility because we take it for granted. We don't understand it on a neurological or a biological level. And I get that. I didn't understand that too until I started seeing like this miracle of like, how did I become fixed? How did I end up healing people? Right. And you start questioning like this is not a coincidence. But coming back to energy and stuff like that, the chakras, that is part of the ancient practices of many different cultures. This one's in
Yes.
India, right? But if
Yep.
you look at all the cultures, everything comes back to a holistic, natural form of modality of healing because they didn't have the technology that we have nowadays. And let's
Right.
be honest, maybe I'll get hunted down by the government, but I don't care. This is the truth. Is that pharmaceutical drugs and those companies make billions of dollars. Why would they want you to be healed? Why would they want you to be
They don't.
healthy? They
They
want
don't.
you sick, but they don't want you dead because that's how they make the money. Is that every medication and how many people they're not just on one form of medication, just for anxiety and depression, I'm at least on 3 medications, just for depression and anxiety. 3 medications at 20.
Wow.
Super healthy, fit, but 3. So when you're down the line and you're in your 60s, 70s, 80s, people are taking like 10 pills a day or more. Each pill costs how much?
Yeah.
Do the math. And
Yeah.
how many people are there in the world taking medication? I mean, we pop Tylenols just for a headache. You know what I mean?
Billions.
When you
Yeah.
can do simple things of like temple releases and a little bit of, I call it a crown chakra release, but it's just triggering the vagus nerve and understanding, what's linked with what and how to actually get into those areas and release that pressure and energy. It's just energy
All
that's
right,
stuck.
Miss ADHD. I've got a little show management now. I got to jump
Okay.
in here. So I these things are just fascinating because ancient medicine,
Yep.
holistic medicine, is the thing that is needed more and most, I believe, in today's world. And I also believe that that when we talk about what you talked about in big pharma, I like to say this: big pharma and big ag, they use us to just pass us back and forth.
Yep.
And realistically, we don't ever want to get rid of traditional
No.
medicine
No.
because it's needed for those things. But really, I'd say is almost as much, maybe 90% of what we need to repair our bodies and fix our stuff is in the holistic world. And it's only the extremes, like surgeries, we break stuff, we do this, that, but you don't ever want to get rid of traditional,
No.
but there should be so much less of an influence of traditional medicine in our world. We've already been going 50 minutes.
I
Bam.
know. We haven't even gotten
It's
to the
gone
deep
by
stuff of it.
really, really quick. I do want to hit a couple of things, including going back a moment. And you said it right in the beginning of this part of the discussion when we were talking about the how long it takes to reset the nervous system.
Yeah.
And you're right. It depends. It depends on what people are doing, what their own personalities are, how much they take. But there's a couple of other things here that I wanted to stay in the nervous system before we continue to move forward.
Right.
If you
Could I
if you
just comment
mind.
on 2 things there that you said? So
Yes,
one,
absolutely.
coming back to the nervous system, how long it takes. Yes, those modalities, depending on what you're doing, where you're at, can take a long
Okay.
time. But the magical thing is with sound healing, it could take
Okay.
1 session. And I've actually
Okay.
created
So let's hover here for a minute with sound healing. Let's hover here for a second. So with sound healing, what does that look like? So I'm coming in or I'm sitting, I see virtually, however, either
Yep.
direction is possible. By the
So
way, before the end of you're We're having some really bad internet. I'm sorry. So, by the way, I'm going to want to get your contact information
Yeah.
before the end of the show. We haven't even begun the show yet.
Uh-oh.
All right. Are we back? No,
We're
I'm
back
back. Are
here.
you
Okay,
back?
we were doing so well
Oh
up
my,
until that. So hopefully it'll just
yeah.
stay. Two things
Kind of
quickly
settle
though,
down.
that I just remembered. One, you were saying I just wanted to comment about traditional medication. I'm not saying that
Yes.
medication is should be eliminated.
Of course.
I myself am still on medication, but I was on the highest dose a human could be on to save my life. But at
Oh,
some
wow.
point, what I would say is that yes, take the medication when you need it. Absolutely, right? You have to if it's going to save your life. And if it's something that you need as a crutch in this meantime, absolutely, there's no shame in that whatsoever because medication does help because sometimes we need that crutch and we need that aid. But at some point, when you start feeling better, you have to allow for your body to do its job. And so you're going to have to rip off that band aid and you're going to have to allow for yourself to heal holistically, but also do the work and learn the work so that you're not just healing it, but you're preventing it as well. And this is where we start aging backwards, right? Is what I call it. And what I came to learn is that at some point you're going to come at a crossroad where you can stay stuck and you can become so numb and so dependent on medication that nothing in your life really changes. It just stays there. And so you kind of plateau and then you start to kind of feel stuck. Or you can rip the band-aid off and choose not to stay stuck and move forward with having that lasting transformation so that you're not going back to the old habits, the old way of living. You want a better life for yourself. So at some point, you're going to have to make that decision to rip the band-aid off. But when you rip off the band-aid, you have to replace that medication with something else. You cannot just get off that medication and expect that everything's going to be healed. And this is where those other modalities, which modalities is just different techniques, different systems or different methods. And that's what my definition of modality is the methods and the practices that we can use. And there's so many out there and there is no one fix it all. You really have to do a little bit of all these things to create what I call my medicine bag. Everybody has their own holistic medicine bag, no different than your own medical medicine bag. And it's up to you to kind of determine because only you know what's best in your body. Only you know what resonates with you, what works for you. And so you have to be open to trying everything. And that's why most people won't do it is because it's a lot of work. It's a lot of investment. It's a lot of time and it becomes a priority. At what point do you realize that your life is more of a priority than all the other shit that you think is more important? Because at the end of the day, the one quote that hit me was, you have two lives to live. We all think we have one life to live, but really you have two lives to live. Have you heard this quote? When you have two lives to live? And do you know why you have two lives to live?
Two lives to live.
Two lives to live. And it's because your second life starts the day you realize you only have one. So we all get to that point where we decide, do we want to stay stuck and keep living that life, that first life that we're stuck in? Or do you want to make a change and find that lasting transformation to live your second life the way you want to create it? This is your chance to rewrite your story, be the narrator, be the director, take the pen, be the author, and write the ending of your story. You get to write your story now. We all came in not getting a chance to choose what story we ended up in the beginning, but we get to choose how we end that. And that is up to you. But it all comes back down to healing yourself. And what it comes back down to is the core of where do you begin to heal. And so this is where I say that there's three critical steps of creating lasting transformation. Step number one, understanding the nervous system, how to regulate the nervous system. Step number two, embodiment, right? Embodying these practices, right? Opening up to all these things and really taking it in, not just mentally, but emotionally, spiritually, all of that, educating yourself and learning through these things and experiencing them for yourself and creating that medicine bag. What does your holistic medicine bag consist of? What are the things that work for you? And what works for one person doesn't work for another person. But the one thing which we'll get into is for sound healing is there's a reason why I developed something called the Mindwave Neuro Sound Bath Method, because sound bath is not a new practice. It's an ancient practice. It uses sound vibration to heal the body on a cellular level. However, nowadays it's becoming a trend and you're seeing it pop everywhere, but there's no governing body to control and regulate how the sound baths are facilitated. And this is where I really wanted to create something that is more structured, that makes more sense on a scientific level rather than just this woo woo of this intuitive belief system, which you have to combine all of it together. Yes, there's intuition in there. There's, the spiritual elements of it. However, if you combined it with the science, the neuroscience of understanding the brain, how to entrain the brain, how to entrain the body, how to understand the nervous system and align those two for coherence, now we're talking. It's because the scientists and the ancient woo-woo people in the spiritual world did not talk to each other because they didn't believe in what the other said. But if you look at it, it all means the same thing, just in a different language. And so they weren't communicating very well. But now people are starting to discover that there is a science to this. The scientists and the doctors are starting to realize there is something to this, because what did they use back then to heal the body and to heal the self? They didn't have the medication that we do. So now people are really, I think, especially after COVID, people are really starting to try to find other ways and alternatives. And that's why it's becoming more acceptable. This is why mental health is being talked about. This is why medication is more acceptable than it was before. There's not as big of a stigma because there's people like you and I talking about this very openly and sharing our experiences. So the embodiment is a second critical point, but the last critical step is integration, integrating it into your life where it becomes a lifestyle, right? So you have to go through those steps in order to have that lasting transformation, because I've gone on and off the wagon so many times, but it wasn't until I integrated those three critical steps that it became my living proof of lasting transformation. If I can heal myself to the point where I've got my head on straight and feel like a normal person when I am far from normal, and there is no such thing as normal, to be honest,
No.
There's a healed version of you. And the healed version of you is not only capable of living your best life, but it is also capable of helping and healing others as well on the journey. And that is the most rewarding thing that you'll ever receive. Because as you know, from the work that you do, money can't buy this type of satisfaction. It's a satisfaction on a soul level where you feel like you're doing your pain justice. Because what was that all for? What was all that pain for if there was no purpose to it? And so this is why I'm here doing the work I do. So to answer one, medication is not a bad thing. Take it if you need it. But at some point, you have to realize it's a crutch and a Band-Aid and start doing the healing. But start opening up to the ideas of things that you don't know, because you don't know until you know. And so sound bath, coming back to that, yes.
Hold on. Before we get into sound bath, which is exactly what I want you to tell us what that looks like, because we've talked a lot about it. We have a ton of questions here, by the way. So let's try and
So we'll simply come back.
Hold on. Wait. What I want to do is kind of focus on some of these questions. But first, I want you to read this right here.
Yes, I noticed that. Loving this conversation in real time.
All right, awesome. Now, also, I want to sit here because I've been wanting to know with the sound bath. So this is a key structure in what we're talking about. By the way, I don't know. We were breaking up there for a minute back a ways ago and here and there.
We're good now.
But at one time, did you, when we were breaking up, I was saying, by the way, before we end the show, I want you to put your contact information in the private chat there. At some point towards the end, when we get towards the end of the questions and answers, I want to put your contact information in there, because I guarantee you somebody's going to see this show a second after it's over, a month after, a year after, and say, God, I wish I was on there with Jenny. I want to talk to her about this. So they can contact you directly. Do you see where that private
I think I
chat
just
is there?
found it here. I'm just going to type in a website here.
And that's where you get people to kind of work with you. I want to hit a couple of other comments here. We've got a lot about burnout.
Did that work there? I just commented something in the private chat, or you want it in the public chat?
I got a little red bubble that says I got it there. So I'll copy and paste that over in a minute. But I did want to get into the dysregulation of the nervous system, because we haven't even got into burnout or any of the other things at this point. But pizza real estate, that's funny. What are the first signs of a dysregulated nervous system? What is that? When do people say, obviously you're touching a nerve here with some people. What is that moment you go, okay, maybe I need to reach out to Jenny here?
So every human being, first sign is just overwhelm. When you feel like you're overwhelmed and uneasy in the body. So the first thing you need to do is just pause. Absolutely do nothing. And this is the problem, is everybody thinks with their head. You need to live in your body and experience what your body is feeling. So the first thing is, I always say, and this is from a great friend, Tyrell, give yourself permission to pause.
I like
in that pause, when you give yourself permission to pause, you're not asking questions, you're not looking for answers, you're not trying to fix anything, you're simply bringing awareness. So first signs of dysregulation is when you're feeling like there's so many things, like your blood is boiling, or you're feeling anxious, or you're feeling very confused, or you're not feeling like yourself, something feels off, you just know, right? Or if you feel like you haven't become aware of that, just pay attention. If you are on the go, if you feel burnt out, if you feel exhausted, right? Those are all the signs of a dysregulated nervous system, because the one problem is not a lot of people understand or have lived through the experience of feeling, what does a true regulated nervous system feel like? I know I never felt it. And the second that I felt it, it was like pure magic. But it took me over a year of painfully going through yoga and meditation. And I absolutely hated it. Every time I laid in it, my head would be like, this is so stupid. This is so fucking stupid. Like, someone like me is not going to be able to ever do this. So I don't know why I keep doing this. But after a year of it, because I rather be in the yoga studio than go home to my miserable life.
Yeah.
Right. At that point, I finally found a sacred place that felt safe. I can cry. I can be myself in the dark and no one would know. And I didn't have to go home and deal with the shit at home that I didn't want to deal with. And so your environment in a yoga studio is kind of like,
I got a question for you here while we're in that moment. Is it the same thing that we're talking about when we're talking about the dysregulated nervous system? Is it the same thing as, like, are you just stressed? Are you in survival mode? How do you know the difference?
So I'm not a doctor and I'm not a scientist or whatnot, but from my own experience and my own opinion,
that's what we're here for.
Dysregulated nervous system is anything that does not have coherence, anything that is off balance. So even if it's a little bit or a lot, there doesn't need to be a benchmark of how dysregulated you are. You are dysregulated when you are not feeling balanced and grounded. So if you're not feeling grounded, if you're feeling conflicted, if you're feeling lost or overwhelmed or burnt out, tired, exhausted, all the things, you feel like you're go, you feel like you're on autopilot, then you are living in a dysregulation, because dysregulation just simply means that you're not balanced, you're not grounded. Just like ADHD. ADHD is not a problem. It's just a dysregulation in the chemicals in your brain, right? So dysregulation is when things are not regulated in a balanced way, in a coherent way. And so even if And I can tell you, like 99% of people have gone through this. And even if you're balanced, you'll still go into dysregulation because you need both. You need the fight or flight and you need the rest and digest. But there needs to be more of a balance of that. What we're doing is we're living in a state now that we're always in fight or flight 24/7. Because why? There's always text messages. My phone just went off. Automatically, my nervous system goes into fight or flight. Like I'm amped up now. I'm not grounded. I'm not calm, right? That's dysregulation. The thought that you have, any thought in your head, thinking about a conversation you had, or thinking about something that worries you, thinking about your children, or watching Netflix and the suspense at the end of the video or the show, all of that makes our nervous system dysregulated. And it's not abnormal, and it's not that it's bad. There's, dysregulation that is good and bad. There's, ones that are higher level than others, but it's having more balance in that yin and yang, right? You have to have balance in being in the fight or flight and rest and digest, because your autonomic nervous system, there's two systems. There's either fight or flight, rest and digest. Now, if we get into energy healing and we get into energy and understanding energy, forget the energy healing, just understanding energy. Everything around us is energy. And if you don't believe that energy exists, I'm going to ask you, how on earth do you take a phone and call someone on the other side of the world and talk to them without a wire? Right? So if you don't believe in energy, then you're living on a different planet. Everything around us is energy. And just like, if you don't believe in that, if you walked in a room and you can feel the tension and there's just a lot of tense energy happening because, there's anticipation or something, you can feel that right away. But if you walk in a room that is like full of high vibration and you're just bumping and everyone's feeling good, it's a party, you're going to also feel that vibration and energy, and you're also going to absorb that, and it's going to lift your energy as well. So our body, our brain likes to calibrate to different energies, and we absorb energy and we give off energy. We have an energy field. And so dysregulation is, simply put, just an off balance. It's just being just not being grounded, not feeling.
Let me ask you something real quick here. Connecting here with Kelly Grant, when you're talking about dysregulation, and then we're also kind of, I want to lean in a little bit here with burnout.
Yeah.
Are these the same? Is burnout just continually pushing against the dysregulated system? And what he's asking is, so two-part question here.
Yeah.
Just two parts, not 15, just two.
Yeah.
On the burnout, can it be fully reversed, or is it just something that you have to manage your way through?
So just like everything else, and people may or may not agree with me, my personal opinion is burnout is inevitable. We all do it to ourselves. We're inevitable. We're all humans. We will always hit a point where we burn out because we're not perfect.
Sure.
It's not that it's to be reversed. It's more so, yes, to be managed. And if you can manage that, you'll have less stress, because stress is inevitable. You're human. You're meant to go through stress. You're meant to hit that fight or flight, but you're also meant to come back to your grounding state. So in my opinion, nothing is permanent in life at all, period. Nothing is fully reversible, but you can reprogram.
That's interesting.
You can reprogram things by managing it, right? You manage yourself. What I feel, actually, I'm going to correct that. You reprogram things in order to have management later on. So when you learn how to reprogram your nervous system, you learn how to reprogram your mind, you learn how to reprogram your old belief system. That is not something that is, fixing it per se. And it's not always permanent, but it can be permanent, because
I would have never thought that. I mean, I was expecting the opposite answer there, because I didn't realize that. It's fascinating how you. And then when I was listening to you, and then kind of,
I love this. Did you see that right there? Wow, burnout explained this way really hits differently. Absolutely, it hits differently when you live the experience. because you don't know what you don't know. And
Yeah.
so this is where energy healing and sound healing is so fascinating to me, and why I developed this, because we
That's a
don't know
perfect
what we don't
setup.
know.
What does it look like? Well, that was the next thing I wanted to get into. I'm dying to know what this
So a sound
sound
bath
is.
meditation is
Yes.
done differently with all types of people, and it really
Okay.
depends on who. But if you come to a mind wave sound bath meditation, it is a little bit different.
That's
It
the
looks the
website you're
same.
talking about, right? Is that
Yeah,
the
so that's my
website you were just
website. Yeah.
okay?
And I have a great video that explains a lot of the burnout and the society and sound bath meditation. So if you go there, you'll find lots of videos. And I'll also put on there a YouTube video of my actual personal mental health story that goes deeper into all of it. So, sound bath meditation, simply put, is a massage for your nervous system. Why do we call it a sound bath meditation? Now, I'm going to ask you, when you first hear about a sound bath meditation, why do you think they call it a sound bath meditation? I'm actually curious to hear about that. And a lot of people, like myself, when I first went into it, had no idea what it was. I was thinking,
Hold on.
Do you
Do
want to answer that question there?
I was answering your no. I was answering your question, but realized I wasn't on stage.
You weren't on stage.
I want to answer that question. So how I see it, a sound bath meditation, it would be something where different sound I've seen in different videos, they hit the bowl and
Yeah.
so it's something along that line, because then that connects to us in our frequencies and makes that adjustment, makes that adjustment in how our body is.
So you've done some research, because if we ask somebody out in the audience here, what do you think a sound bath meditation is? They're going to be like, do I need a towel and a bathing suit? That was my first. That
would be fun though. That would be fun.
Right?
Go ahead.
When you think of sound bath, I'm thinking, am I just laying in a bathtub with like music around me that's supposed to make me feel good?
That sounds
I don't know. That's what I
For a
thought. I'm
minute.
like, do I
A
need
little
a bathing
glass of
suit?
wine, a little sound,
Right?
and a bubble
Right?
bath with candles.
So that's what happens when you don't understand energy. I knew nothing about energy at all. I was oblivious to this. And this is what I mean by you don't know till you don't know. But you're on the right path there.
Okay.
So a
Okay, go
sound
on.
bath meditation, and I love, this is what Mindwave does really well, is we explain the science and modality that's been around for thousands of years in more of a modern day language where it's digestible nuggets, right? That relates to people who don't fully understand the spiritual side or the science side of it. So simply put, when you think of a sound bath meditation, if you think of it this way, when you have a bowl of water, and let's say you surround it with sound and vibration, very strong sound and vibration, the more frequency and the more powerful the vibration is, the more you're going to see that ripple effect in that bowl of water. And you'll see it to the point where you, like you were saying, that, you've seen the vibration where they strike it and there's bubbles and there's ripple effects and the water spitting out. And I can literally grab my sound bowl and show you that. If, we can set that up next time if you want to do that. But if you look it up, the water will move.
Wait. How long would it take you to set it up? Because we're kind of winding down on questions. I'm not asking you to set it up. I'm just asking you, how long would it take?
Oh, I would just literally have to have a bowl in front of me and then put the water in it. It wouldn't take very long. And it wouldn't take very long to bring it up either.
To actually hear the sound and make that.
It's not about hearing. See, this is the thing, is everybody thinks
go on.
Music, sound, we think we have to hear it. Now, sound healing has nothing to do with hearing it. I had somebody who had a hearing aid who is profoundly deaf, and she's like, can I do this sound bath? I can kind of hear with my hearing aid, but what do I do? And I was like, shut your hearing aid off. Turn it off. Because it's like a microphone. It's also going to create unappealing sounds. Because my dad has a hearing aid, so I know how it works. Crinkle paper does not sound like crinkle paper. It's actually very painful to listen to crinkle paper in a hearing aid because it sounds very audible, right? And it becomes super magnified. So when you turn off the hearing aid, it's not about hearing, it's about feeling. This is all about moving energy now. So coming back to that bowl of water.
Into the body.
Yes, into the body. So
this is where I'm into the frequency that we're letting out, into those waves.
So I'm going to explain that a little bit more. So that bowl of water, now picture this. Your body is made up of 70% of water. What do you think is going to happen to your body and inside your body when you're laying in a soundscape of frequency and vibration? So, what we do in a sound bath is we create the soundscape of frequency and vibration that is all around you, and your body is absorbing that. So, that water, that ripple effect in that bowl of water, that's what's happening inside your body. It's the soundscape is creating this ripple effect in your body, which is breaking up all the energy. And that is what is the deep massage for your nervous system. Because how do you massage the nervous system? You can't get your hands in there and massage it. And this is why when you go for massage, RMT on the physical level, on the outside of your body and your muscles, it's only temporary relief. And right away, you're like, I feel great. But then within an hour, you're back to square one.
Let's stay right where you are right now, because you make a great point. I was going to comment on that. I've got, I've joined clubs that you get a massage every 30, that because it's a big thing. It makes that effect. But so this is a massage of the actual system, the nervous system, and that's at a deeper level, and that massage is more of a
release,
ongoing where the whole body is being massaged from the inside out.
Yes,
that's fascinating.
Yes, so you'll have a longer experience of being able to live into that.
More relaxed. So yes, so all the things we get massages for, because I'm all tense up here and I'm all tense up here,
surface level.
So the sound wave kind of breaks that down from the inside.
So if you think of it this way,
hold on.
Yeah,
folks, sit on that for a second. Seriously, like I said in the opening monologue, take a second and just sit on that, because I spend a lot. I have been Producer Barbie and a lot of other people I know have spent a lot of money on doing massages every week or a couple of weeks, because our body just gets so devastated over time, slowly, and then until it's just at a point where you're living with that every day. You need that relief. The massage is that surface thing that we never think about, that there's a deeper level.
Yeah. So all that money that you spend and getting that massage, I can guarantee you, I am so solidly convinced, and I've done this for thousands of people. If you took that amount of money that you took for massages that didn't last you more than a day, and you either flew yourself out here or flew me in there, and I give you what I call a crown chakra release in Vancouver, BC, Canada.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I can give you a massage that would last way longer than a regular massage would. And this is why
What's the trip time? What's the trip time? I'm in
Oklahoma. Where are you located?
I'm in Oklahoma. Just outside of Oklahoma City.
What's the closest city? What's the closest province to you in Canada?
Dallas, Texas.
Oh, you're on that side.
Yeah, I'm on that side.
You're on the east side. So you're going to be like 5-6 hours.
No, I'm on the west side. No.
You're on the west side. Okay, so it might just be a couple hours. You're only 3 hours ahead of me.
Straight north, right? Just straight north, right through Colorado.
Okay, I'll see you tomorrow.
I'll be there. You and I are going to party hardy.
Okay, so
seriously, that's awesome. Go on.
I'm not kidding. I used to work on clients one-on-one, and this is where I started discovering a lot of things, because I've worked with people who have neurological disorders, neurodivergency, people, anything that has anything to do with the neurological disorder. I've helped settle their nervous system in a very, very quick time. And it all has to do with just understanding how all these things are connected. Now, when you think of a massage therapy in RMT, they do a wonderful job, yes, for the muscle surface level. But why is it that they can't get deep into that trigger point?
Can you do me a favor?
Yeah.
Spend some time on this, because I have to jump off camera and clean up a couple things over here. I want to listen, but spend some time. Give me a couple minutes and really dive
into this whole RMT thing or massage thing, surface level.
This thing seems to come in waves where we get disrupted. Are you back?
I'm back.
You're frozen.
I'm still here. I mean, you're not frozen. Okay, now you're frozen.
Folks, I apologize. I don't know what's happening here.
I'm back here.
There we are.
All right,
you're back. All right, yeah. I think it's weird. It's happening like I'm looking at it. It's happening. It's crazy. Okay,
Okay.
you're back. So it's
Yeah.
happening about every 7 minutes, and it lasts about a minute and a half. So I'm going to jump off. Give me 2-3 minutes and really get into this bath. Okay.
Okay. So you
What
want me
does
to
it look
talk
like?
about this?
What does it sound like? Yeah, please. I'll be back in a second. I got to fix a couple of things.
All right. So, with the sound bath meditation, what we do is we create this soundscape of frequency and vibration. Now, most sound healers will have a lot of different instruments that let out a certain frequency and vibration, and some will do it based on just intuitively what naturally speaks to them. So the practice all depends individually on the sound healer. And that's why when you go to sound bath meditations, some sound baths will be a different experience than others. At our sound baths with Mindwave, we've actually created a methodology that we train our facilitators to create a very similar sound bath experience for everybody who comes into Mindwave sound baths. So just the intro level for someone who's brand new to sound bath meditation, we go through just having you guys come in. We explain a little bit of the sound healing and what that is, simply put, the massage for the nervous system. And we just create this ambience and experience where when people come in, they already feel safe. So think of it kind of like walking into a spa or a yoga class where the ambience is just very friendly, welcoming. We get everybody to lie down on mats, and some studios will have what's bolsters or pillows and props. A lot of our guests, we recommend for them to bring a blanket and a pillow so that they have comfort, because lying on the floor can be pretty hard on the back, especially if you don't have, if you have hardwood or some sort of hard surface underneath. But traditionally, a lot of sound healing is in a studio, a wellness studio, or an open space where you're just laying on a yoga mat and with some props that you bring in. So one, you want to bring a pillow and you want to bring a blanket, because one, when we go into sound bath, our body temperature drops when we relax. And so people tend to get cold.
Okay. Makes sense.
Even if you came in not cold. Secondly, pillow, because when you're so relaxed, the body just melts. And when you melt and you're on a hard floor, you start feeling the pain and aches in the body. And this is why I prefer to do restorative yoga with sound healing, because restorative yoga allows for us to have props to support the body and the weight of the body once it relaxes. So
That's
restorative, you're meant to stay in
That's
a
when you have the
stretch.
blocks. That's
Yes.
when you have the blocks and
The
different
bolsters,
things. Yeah,
yeah.
I've done that.
Yeah.
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 But
And so depending on people's body, a lot of the times I find that putting a bolster underneath your knees, if you're doing a sound bath at home and you're just listening to it like binaural beats or on the headphones, that's great too. Take something that is a little bit more firm, or take a towel, roll it up, place it underneath your knees when you're laying down, because that'll flatten out your back. It'll just tilt your pelvic enough to flatten out your back so that you're not having that arch and creating that strain in your lower back and hips. And it'll actually help open up your hips more and allow for you to just melt into the props where it supports that weight. And if you have hip problems, this is also where it's great. Like when you go to sleep, I would recommend someone, especially a little bit heavier and have extra weight, to have a prop underneath their knees and hips, or if they're sleeping on the side, to have something that is a prop that supports it between it. So those like body pillows, those don't do any justice unless you have it really firmly packed where it can hold up your weight. So bolsters are great for that. And this is where restorative yoga comes in to really help people with pain.
Okay.
I had so many clients that have trouble sleeping because the amount of weight on their shoulder or their hips really just kind of compacts down, because when your body is relaxed and rested, all that weight is being put on other parts of your body to support that. But if you have support from a prop, you're now not putting that weight onto your body, you're putting it onto that prop, and that's going to take off the weight off your body and help you with a lot of the pain that you have. Now, coming back to sound bath, yes, the favorite way to do it is a restorative yoga with the props, so that when people melt into the sound bath is just the soundscape of all these frequency vibrations that settles the nervous system so much that you just begin to melt into the ground. Now, if you do it properly, people will get to that state. But the problem is, a lot of sound healers, depending on where they got educated or trained, there's a certain sequence to it that you have to go with, because certain instruments will do certain things in the body. And that's what people don't understand. So if you're not getting trained properly, you might actually take people out of that state sooner than you want. So when you're playing instruments randomly at different places, you might get them to a state where they're rested and then all of a sudden jot them out of it because you played like a bell that just created focus. So you have to understand what frequency these instruments are letting out and the timing of it and where to play it. And this is where we do certification.
Where we do it, what location?
Yes, there's a whole sequence.
Different positioning, right?
Everything. Yeah. So in a sound bath meditation, it's usually a group class.
Sound, by the way.
Yeah, right.
That was my version. Okay. So
right.
don't take
no, I'm not. I'm the one who's calling it hokey pokey shit, and then I'm the hokey pokey shit, right? So
hey,
no offense there.
Love hokey pokey shit. Loving it.
When you come into a sound bath, so we're laying down, they're going to guide you through a meditation to just kind of get you in the state of being present and getting you out of your head. Once you lay into it, we start easing into a whole bunch of different instruments, and all these instruments, depending on the teacher, let out frequencies, but it also creates an ambience. It depends on the person. So some sound healers, I like to say, create almost like concert-like sound bath. And some don't do it as a concert like myself. I used to think it was a concert. I used to call my sound bath a symphony sound bath journey, because I would take people on this journey that was a story without telling a story through words, but through sounds. And I would take people through kind of like the intro of your life.
Hold right there. I told you we're going to want to dive deeper every now and then here on that. So you're taking them through a journey. So are you building or declining, however that would go, in a sound, a sound. So different sounds.
Yes. So
what are the kind of instruments? So
the instruments that I have, I usually start off with a Tibetan bowl, one of those metal bowls. I have two of them.
That's what
there's a small one and a big one. Personally, I like to be in the
higher pitch, lower pitch kind of thing, right?
Yes, but complete stillness. So I usually take this is our level 2 training, getting into the neuroscience. I take this seed shaker, and it's very odd because you would think when you're shaking the seed shaker, it doesn't sound very pleasant, or how can it be calming? But if you're in the dead silence, it's not kind of. Yeah, it's like little seed nuts that are just kind of banging against each other. But when you play instruments and you're awake, it sounds different than how it lands in the body when you're laying in it. And when you take away the sensories of everything else. So the whole idea is to actually bring people to the present moment, to get them out of their mind into their body. That's the tricky part, right? That's our job.
Hold on. Let me think about that. So get out of their mind and into their body. Yes. And that's what these different instruments are doing, as long as the instructor's doing the right thing.
Yes. So our job, your job, the hardest part is showing up. The rest of it, we take over, because you're just coming in there and taking a nap. That's your only job, is just to relax and lay there and receive. That's it. So the hardest part is just showing up. Our job is a little bit more complicated, because you have to know what you're doing. And if you don't do it right in the sequence, in the ways that you should be doing it, understanding sound frequency and understanding the states of the body, the brain variation of where your brain state is. There's so much science to this that if you don't understand the science to it, you're not guaranteed to get them to that state. But our sound baths have been pretty much guaranteed 99%.
You're going to be all over the place, right? Potentially you could be all you're pretty much you could be all over the place with an uneducated, I don't mean it that way, but you know what I mean.
So that's why a lot of,
if you're doing it yourself, for instance, you can't really do it yourself at all, because
you could.
You're part of it.
I do sound baths for myself all the time.
Oh, okay. But if you don't know, then I could be banging on that and starting to go in the right direction.
You can give
and then playing that and be out of it.
Exactly. And you can give the same instrument to somebody else, same exact instruments that I use, but that sound bath doesn't work compared to the sound baths I do, because the intention of it and the whole understanding of the science and understanding brain entrainment understanding all that science plays a
Makes sense.
huge factor. And this is why I developed what's called the mind wave neural sound bath method, because most sound healers out there, it's just a sound bath. Ours is not a sound bath. It's a neural sound bath. And I created a neural sound bath method through becoming my own research project, because I'm like, how on earth did I train this ADHD brain? Yes, I see that. Great. Thank you. Thanks, Joe. And so I was able to entrain my brain to not have squirrels anymore. I reprogram my nervous system in order to understand and learn how to receive and get to that state, not just in a sound bath, but in life at any point. Like, I could get really excited about this topic. And if I'm present enough to just bring awareness and be like, okay, I'm feeling the dysregulation in the nervous system in a good way because it's excited talking about this, but I can just I can bring myself down to that regulated nervous system instantly. But it first,
So you can manage your body yourself. You can manage your body and yourself at a much higher level.
Absolutely.
I want you to read 2 comments before you go on. Just 2 comments, and we'll get back to some questions here.
Yeah.
Read the Joe Show here.
The Joe Show. Where is he here?
Read that out loud, would you? He's right
the
on
one
the
that's
screen.
like great
Right
live
below
loving
my
this
face.
energy, or is there another one here? Great live loving this energy.
That was the one. And then
This
now
is so relatable. Thank you
and
for
then now
sharing
read
this.
this
Thank
one,
you,
would you?
Paula.
And
What
then-
is the
and then
simplest
it's-
daily
so
practice to
it's
start
what you're
regulating
talking
the
about
nervous
right now.
system? Yeah.
Okay.
What's that?
The comments you read, the questions I read, I want to set them up for you.
Okay.
All right. Comments I want you to read. I'll read the questions. So the Thrive Show, well, we have a lot of, this is interesting. Have you noticed something? We've got a lot of podcasts or shows on today. That's like,
Well,
3
reach
or
out
4
to
in a
me
row.
if you want to.
What's the simplest daily? Absolutely. Yeah. As a matter of fact, you're wanting to do more and more podcasts. So we've got your contact information. I'll bring that back up in a second. What's the simplest daily practice to start regulating the nervous system? And I think what we're talking about right now. Now, let me ask you this. So let's say he's saying daily practice. So obviously daily practice would be then more the yoga and meditation, because until you really know what you're doing, unless they're calling you up every day or living with you. I'll be moving in next week, by the way. If they're doing that, then you can do a daily practice. But how would you do that? How would you answer his question here? It's an interesting question to me.
Well, if you want it really simple, like, I mean, we can go
Oh, you're
yoga and all of
frozen.
that,
Damn.
but if we want to go to the very baby steps of the very first thing that you can do every day that is so easy and you can do at home,
Okay.
there's 2
Okay.
things you can do. 1, just pause. Breath work. Understanding how to actually breathe
Oh, yeah.
is the first key, because every single person that
Yeah.
I've worked with, nobody knows how to breathe intentionally. So learn how to breathe intentionally. I almost think that I should do a little mini free like
Good
video
point.
how to do this, because I'm developing programs for all of this. The first thing you can do is just learn how to actually properly breathe to release energy. And that's like his. So a lot of people breathe from the chest, and you'll learn this from yoga. You're breathing from the diaphragm. And what I say is, we'll do it together. How about we do this, Rodd? Oh, we were just pausing here.
All right, here we're back now.
All right.
All right, we're back now.
Let's do this live. Okay. It only takes a couple seconds.
Yeah, you're going to do a breathing exercise with us. That's what I was going to ask.
I want you to
Is that
sit
what
up.
we're doing?
Yeah. So you're just
I'm ready.
sitting up nice and tall.
All right, here we go.
All right. So I want you to close your eyes.
Okay.
Okay. And so actually, I'm going to explain this to you first, and then we'll do it. So a lot of people don't understand to breathe because they breathe and they blow air through their mouth.
Say that again. I didn't hear you.
So I'm going to explain it to you first, and then we'll do it. Because the important part is understanding kind of how to do the breathing first before you do it. All
I
right,
think we're back.
here. Okay. You're still frozen, but I can hear you. Hello, hello. All right. There
Okay,
you
so
are.
yeah, it
Okay.
looks like we're back now. Let's do this real quick, real quick. I think we're out of this thing, but before the next one comes on, let's get a couple of questions. But let's do the breathing right now because this is my favorite. You can, folks, we're going to do all this together, okay? The 300 of you plus that are on.
Yeah. It
We're
takes
going
a
to do
couple
this together
seconds.
because I get it. So let's do this.
Okay.
Let's do this without freezing.
Okay, so I'm going to explain this first so you understand so that your breath we'll do 3 rounds of it, but it's okay, you don't have to do it perfectly. The idea is just
Gotcha.
to do it. So when we're breathing, most people will blow air from their mouth. That's just breathing from the chest. We're breathing from the diaphragm, from the belly, so that we release all of that tension in our body. All right. So you're just going to relax and you're going to seal your lips shut and you're going to imagine a balloon inside your diaphragm. You're going to draw the breath in through your nose, very nice and slow, and breathe in through the nose, drawing it all the way down the throat into the chest and then down into the diaphragm where that balloon is. Now you're going to imagine filling that balloon up with air until it expands, and you're going to feel your rib cage expand all the way. And we're going to do it very slow and mindfully, and I'll guide you through that. So, and then you're going to hold for about 3 seconds. I'll count it down. You're going to make sure that you're not tensing up your whole entire body. You're just going to relax your body as much as you can. And when you get to the third, when you exhale, this is the most important part. If you're wanting to release, the more we are able to exhale and let out that air through the diaphragm, the more we're able to release all over the body. So the release is imagine as if you're fogging a mirror or taking that big yawn, like you're stretching it, and you're going to hear that sound, right?
Oh, okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
It's okay to hear that. We can't even see you. We can't even hear you. So don't be embarrassed. A lot of people are so embarrassed that they restrict themselves from that's the real breath, right?
Okay.
Most people will go, we're not blowing air through our mouth because nothing is actually leaving our body. We're dropping the jaw down. We're going to breathe as if you're fogging that mirror or you're outside in the cold and you're creating that warm fog. So you're going to feel that warm breath come up. All right. Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense.
All right. So we're going to sit here and we're going to close our eyes. And I want you to tune in your awareness in the body and just notice any areas in the shoulders. If you're holding and clenching any part of the muscle in your face, especially between the eyebrows and the jawline, I want you to soften that area up. All right. So now you're going to seal your lips shut and you're going to slowly draw that breath in through the nose and fill that diaphragm, that balloon, all the way up with air until you fill it up and you can't fill that balloon up anymore. Beautiful. You're going to hold now, soften the shoulders and hold for a count of 3, 2, 1. Drop the jaw, open mouth, exhale, press that air, lengthen that breath out, nice, slow, and controlled. And connect it with the shoulders, the spine, and soften those areas up and the muscles in the face. Beautiful. Second round of breath here. You're going to seal your lips shut. We're going to breathe in a little bit deeper this time. So drawing that breath in through the nose. Expand the rib cage and fill up that balloon and hold. Soften the body up and soften the muscles in the face and hold for a count of 3, 2, 1. Drop the jaw, open mouth, exhale. Lengthen that air, press that air out as if you're fogging that mirror. See if you can extend that breath a little bit longer. Beautiful. Last round of breath. I want you to make this intentional as you can to release anything in the body that no longer serves you. Sealing the lips, beginning to breathe in through the nose. Expand the rib cage, fill that balloon all the way to the top and hold. Soften the body for 3, 2, 1. Drop that jaw, open mouth, exhale, press that air, lengthen that breath out, and really fog that mirror up until you can't see your face anymore. Beautiful. Bring your breath back to its natural rhythm and soften the rest of the body. And whenever you're ready, you can open your eyes.
Wow. All right, I got to go take a nap. I'm done.
Yeah. So that's your quick, simple reset that you can do on a daily basis.
Morning, afternoon, night, multiple times
Anytime.
during the day. Does it matter?
Nope. And you know what? This reminded me
I'm sorry, you broke up. What?
This reminded me of my first step of how I started learning to breathe. And this was a therapist that gave this to me. I took a little sticker, a red little sticker, and she told me to stick the sticker somewhere that would remind me to breathe. And every time you find yourself clenching and holding your breath, breathe. But even if you're not clenching and holding your breath, breathe anyways. So, first thing is just practicing how to breathe in every moment of every day as many times as you can, because you're drawing more oxygen in intentionally, which is going to have everything flow more. Guess where I stuck that sticker? On my debit card, on my MasterCard, because every time I pulled out my debit card and my MasterCard, it would remind me to breathe. Because how often do you pull that out to tap in a day? Right?
Okay.
So put it somewhere that it's going to
regularly,
remind you. And who doesn't have a little bit of anxiety, and you might not even notice it until you start doing it. Just notice when you pull out your MasterCard, your debit card, do you hold your breath? And I guarantee you might find yourself holding your breath. So if you put that big red sticker on your debit card, every time you pull it out to tap, that's what I do. And it releases that anxiety right away. If you're in the car and you get road rage, and I used to have major road rage. Now I'm like, oh, I feel bad for them. They're having a bad day. I totally understand that. Yeah. Before I would be like, oh, damn, you mess with the wrong person. And I would hunt them down and just like want to make their life a living hell, because we want to project when we're mad, right? Yeah. So, wherever it is that reminds you, especially where you find that you have the most amount of tension or stress, or you hold your breath, first thing is just catch yourself when you hold your breath. That's the simplest thing that you can do every single day that's free, that doesn't cost you money, doesn't take very much time. Just notice when you hold your breath. And when you start catching yourself hold your breath, start adding layers to it, start stacking other habits on it. And that's where you're creating lasting habits. You're reprogramming how you handle things, how you adjust to things, how you behave now, because you cannot change something that you're not aware of. So first start bringing awareness to when you hold your breath. When
so let me add on a little bit here. As we go through things, I want to hit a couple of these questions. And a lot of these we've actually hit on. So I want, if you would just add a little color between the layers.
Sure.
For the, like, Linsock here, if I'm saying that correctly. And this is a fascinating question to me, because so we have these daily achievements that are these daily activities that we can do, which is awesome and beautiful. And then also connecting with you, as far as, connecting with, I would say, experts are experts for a reason. And this show opens up to the avenue that they can meet with you on. But this is a really important thing, and it needs to be done right. However, with that said, how does ADHD connect with the nervous system dysregulation? So you opened up right out of the gate with the ADHD, and we had a lot of discussion about that, still do. And it's interesting because we also talk about the system's deregulation. How do those two things connect, as far as when they come together? What is happening there?
Okay. This is an incredible question. And if you asked me this a few years ago, I would have not understand or know how to answer this question. Because when I was first diagnosed, I'm like, okay, I have ADHD. Now what? I don't know a thing about ADHD or how to fix and manage that. And it costs a lot of money to find the right professionals to do that. Yeah. So ADHD connecting to the nervous system dysregulation, there's a couple things here. The first thing is ADHD is a dysregulation in your brain, in the chemicals in your brain. Our brain is not able to release or produce the right levels of dopamine in order to regulate our brain state. And that's what I came to understand. When there's a dysregulation in your brain, there's also going to be a dysregulation in your nervous system. Because if there's any dysregulation anywhere in your body, naturally that's going to happen in your entire nervous system, because the nervous system is the engine that controls everything in your body. Now, this is where we understand coherence. What is coherence? Coherence is when our brain and our body aligns with one another. And if our brain is thinking one thing and our heart, our intuition is thinking another and feeling another, if these are not aligned, there is no coherence, there is no balance. You're always going to be in conflict. So you need to bring awareness to the dysregulation in your brain, which ADHD is already a dysregulation every day of every moment in your brain because you're lacking that chemical. And so we have to find a way to regulate that. And some people use medication. I use medication, it helps me, but I'm on the baby dose of medication because I know how to get my dopamine in natural forms. Because the thing with medication is I became dependent on it. And without it, I couldn't live or survive without it. But there's also other things that come with, being on medication and a high dose of medication on top of all these other medications that why wouldn't you want to incorporate something more holistic if you can? Right? At the last resort, if you need to use medication, absolutely use that. But if there's something more holistic that is healthier for your body, why would you not learn how to do that? So
let's shift just a minute into the burnout section, as far as how burnout goes, because this question's kind of a tough one because we've grown up on, hey, it's just your mindset. Hey, change your positive mental attitude. All these things work.
So easy to say, but it was so hard to do. And I've spent 30 years more. It took me a long time. And we're all still struggling with this. Can you explain why mindset alone doesn't fix burnout? Well, first off, your mindset is your old programming, right? Whatever you've programmed in your mind and your body is your old belief system. And yes, the mind is a powerful thing. Burnout is kind of like not just it's burnout. There's physical burnout, there's mental burnout, there's spiritual burnout. So mindset alone, when you're just fixing the mindset, first off, you're battling your mind when your body doesn't know how to actually just pause. When you physically, spiritually, emotionally are not addressing these areas and you're only addressing the mind, you're missing the other 3 elements. There's 4 elements here at the minimum: physical, mental, emotional, and spiritually. And if you're only working on the mindset and changing that, well, how can you change your mind when all these other things are not in alignment with that? So you have to bring all of this into alignment. Mindset alone will not fix burnout because burnout comes from mental exhaustion, physical exhaustion, spiritual exhaustion, emotional exhaustion. So changing the mindset is not going to change these other things. So I hope that answers that question. There's so much you can get into with that.
It's got a little tiny bit of moment in there, but like you said, you're fixing maybe, and if you're fixing that 100%, you're at best fixing only 25% of the total issue. It's an engine. It's a complete system.
How do you fix right? And how do you fix the mindset to believe that you can't? You can keep telling yourself something, but why do you keep falling off the wagon? Why do you tell yourself something, but you don't feel it? Because emotionally, you're not believing it. Spiritually, you're not believing it. So if you don't believe it spiritually and emotionally, how can you change that mindset? And what's burning you out is emotional and spiritually. You're not aligned spiritually because intuitively, you're living in your brain. You're following all the things that you tell in your brain because society tells you to, because your reality isn't really truly the real reality that you want. Your real reality that you want is your intuition, what you want in your soul on a soul level. So you cannot just fix that through mindset. You have to fix yourself on a soul level from the inside out.
I love that. And it makes such perfect sense. And this is one of those additional situations where the information's here and we just keep living our lives. And I'm going to get into a question here about society and what role it plays, which I think is important. Okay. So do you.
Oh my gosh.
Before we do that, though, read that out
Loving this
loud.
Conversation in real time. Thank you. Thank you so much, Anita. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah. No. Anita sent another one. The Adventure Show here, another show. Loving this. Yep. And then let's go down to Anita, read what she says. And then I got a question for you.
Thank you so much, Anita. I appreciate that. And everyone else that's on this podcast listening to it, I really, truly appreciate it.
All right. So here's a great question, I think. And I think you agree from your reaction. What role does environment play? And then we've got, I think, another comment or so, and then kind of start to wrap up here. This show will be well over 2 hours by the time we're
we can
wrapped
go
here
on for days.
very
Yeah.
well. We can do follow-ups too.
Absolutely.
I got another show that's coming up, so I got to
No
get
worries.
prepared for that. But otherwise, this should be a 4 or 5 hour show because we can definitely do a couple of different lanes.
I will
here.
definitely come back.
But
for
what
sure.
I want to ask here is Russ McCall's got a great one here.
These are all amazing
Awesome.
questions.
So
like
what role?
incredible questions. They are bang on questions. What role does environment play in keeping us in survival mode? Now, this depends on what environment we're talking about, but I'm just going to talk in general, right?
Hold on. Let me break his question down since you brought that up. So let's say the environment is your workplace and the other environment is your family, your home. You talked about sometimes you just didn't want to come and deal with what was, and it sounds like it was a lot worse than just dealing with stuff coming at home. I listened to some of the words that slipped out, torture and abuse. And so go on. So, what environment? Those two environments.
Environment is such a huge thing. I had to completely change my environment in every aspect possible. I really had to change the people that I surrounded myself with, the space that I was in. I'm so sensitive to energy now and very, very aware of my environment that I will not put myself in situations anymore that does not align or make me feel regulated. So environment, whether it's at work, at home, in society, we're talking in every aspect from personally yourself to people that you're surrounded with in your home environment, in your social environment, in your work environment. All of that and society itself, all of that plays such a huge role because it all has to do with influence, right? It all has to do what is influencing what's going on in your mind and your body.
Wait. So you're saying it has to do with influence. So it all has to do with whatever that environment is, whether it be family or whether it be work or anything else. It's whatever that environment, what influence it's having on that. Go ahead.
On your mind and your body, right?
Yeah.
Coming back to that coherence. So dysregulation, survival mode. Survival mode is when we are in that dysregulated nervous system of fight or flight, just trying to get through. And so that dysregulation is our body, our mind, our spirit, everything. We absorb everything that's in our environment and surrounding. And you don't know what you don't know, and you only know what's in front of you, and you only know what you're experiencing. So whatever you're experiencing in your environment, whether it be at home, personally, or with your family, or with your colleagues at work, or in the social environment, in a strange social environment that you're not familiar with, they all play a huge role in your survival mode in how you respond to that, right? So if you're in a situation of a social environment in an unfamiliar place with people that you don't know, your nervous system is going to go into fight or flight because it's meant to protect us. And so when you're in an environment that feels tense, that is toxic, you're going to feel that. Your body's going to feel that before your brain even knows it. And most of the time, we experience it in the body without knowing it in our brain. And so we continue to be in that environment because we don't understand the effect that it has on us. And so we're just used to going through that fight or flight and having our body naturally automatically go into that fight or flight to protect us. And we don't even realize that we're trying to survive that. We're just cruising through it without even knowing it. The only time you know it is when you bring awareness to it, and then you start realizing, holy shit, I'm just trying to survive this. But when you start to realize it, that's when you want to change. That's when it's going to bother you. Right? So how long do we get stuck in a situation, whether it's been in our family? And we're talking family of immediate family with people you live with, or extended family, or friends, family, all of that. All of that affects us, but we don't always. We don't always recognize that.
I was just going to say, I think we're at that 17 minutes. It's starting to, so be patient.
No worries. So
all right.
That question of
go ahead with what you're saying. You broke up. I broke up from you.
Yeah. So I was just saying that environment plays such a huge role in survival mode. But the thing is, do you even know that you're in survival mode? Because if you don't know you're in survival mode, chances are you are in survival mode or in fight or flight, but don't even recognize or realize it. And how can you realize that? Until you realize that, how can you change your environment? How can you become aware of what your environment looks like or how it's affecting you?
Good point.
Right? So first, again, being present. It all comes back down to that breath. That simple breath brings you back to this moment, right? We're living in our heads, and what we're doing is we're either living in the past or we're living in the future. But when are we ever living in this present now? And when we live in this present now, we
Right.
can do something about that. We can decide whether this is for us or it's not for us. But most of the time, people are not living in the now and feeling the now. They're just processing it in their brain. And so they're doing whatever it takes to just get through it without realizing there's no intention. And that's another thing is asking yourself, what is the intention of this? People are living without intention and purpose because they're just living to live because that's
Yes.
all they know. They're told to just live and do it. Well, why are you doing it? What kind of purpose is it serving you? Does it feel good? Does it feel good in your mind and your body and your spirit? Does it align with your core belief system? Right? Does it sit well with you? Do you even ask yourself these questions? So the whole thing is coming back down to with the nervous system is being present enough living in your body and experiencing life through the inside from your intuition, from your heart, your soul, as opposed to living in your brain the whole time. And our society has wired us to program ourselves to just deal with things and process things in our mind and overthink everything. And we live in our mind 24/7, even when we're sleeping, right?
Yeah.
But when we're sleeping and we're living in our mind, our body is not recovering. Our body needs to shut this down in order for this to recover. And the way that I like to explain the analogy of sound baths with this is imagine your body, right, is a vehicle. What kind of car do you drive?
Alfa Romeo.
A what?
An Alfa Romeo. It's a Ferrari.
A
It's made by the-
Ferrari. Okay. Okay.
Well,
I
not
understand.
me. No, I Alfa Romeo is actually makes the Ferrari. Fiat owns it all.
Gotcha.
It's an Italian car.
Right.
I like that.
So it's a beautiful car and you love your car?
Yeah.
Do you take good care of your car?
I
Maintain it?
I do.
Yeah. What do you do to maintain it?
I do.
What are the things that you do to maintain your car?
I keep clean the inside and the outside. And before I moved here, I was part of a car wash club. So I had unlimited. I would take it in and have it cleaned.
Oh my gosh.
Probably twice a week.
This is why I love asking this question, because chances are, and you've done the work, so I might expect you to answer this question a little bit differently, but how many of us own a very beautiful car that we take really good care of and we maintain, or even at the very least bring it in for our oil change to maintain it so it doesn't die on us? Because that would be a huge inconvenience, right?
Sure.
Not to mention how much money, and if it's your baby,
Absolutely.
that's a whole other level. Well, that vehicle has an engine, right? Would you run that engine 24/7? We're just pausing here. No, you wouldn't run it 24/7 because what will happen? Burnout. So same thing as this vehicle here.
Boom.
This vehicle, our body, in this one life, we get this one vehicle. And the thing is, if you don't maintain that vehicle and you don't shut that engine off, right? And your engine is going 24/7, which we all do, what's going to happen? We're going to burn out the engine. And how many times do you keep burning out the engine until that engine's completely dead? And when that engine dies, you only have that one engine. You can't replace it. You can't replace this vehicle, this body, your life. You only get one chance. Other vehicles, like your car that's in your driveway, you can replace that, right? It's an inconvenience. But why is it that we put so much time and effort and priority into materialistic things to maintain that and take good care of that, but we don't put the same amount of effort and work into this vehicle that brings us from place to place in our lifetime, and we only get one? Now, in order to shut that engine off, the engine is your nervous system. To turn off that engine means to turn off your brain. And this is where I like to say that I give people the key through our sound baths. I give people the key and I shut their brains off for them. We shut down their nervous system so that their engine can rest. And when their engine rests, this is where the body can recover on a cellular level. So it's been known that we've had people go into the alpha, theta, and delta state of the brain waves in order to get to the REM sleep, or at least a meditative state where they feel like they're in a dreamlike state where they actually pass out, but they're kind of there and they're not there. And that's when the body can truly recover. We don't always get that when we sleep. And the most amazing part about the sound bath is it doesn't take a full night of sleep to get there. Sometimes it takes 10 minutes, sometimes it takes 15 minutes, sometimes it takes an hour. But at the very least, when you walk out of that sound bath, I don't know anyone who's ever walked out of there not feeling relaxed, or at least getting to a state where they shut down. And in fact, it works so well on children. And that's the most incredible thing. And there was a question here about family and kids and regulation, and how to actually, manage that when you're raising children. That's a whole other question that is like an incredible question that I know a lot of parents have burning question about this. And this is where I've created also sound baths for families to do together, because not only is it important for children to understand at a very young age what a regulated nervous system not only looks like, but feels like. So how can you tell children to calm down? And here's a question. How can parents regulate themselves while raising kids under stress?
Hold on. I wanted to set this one up too. So let's that kind of comes to the point down. Is emotional shutdown, a form of protection in the nervous system, and then this family thing. Probably two of the most important things. What I'd like you to do, if you would, is really pull through. Look at it. Another freaking. I don't know what it is. There's just so many podcasts or shows on today. Here today, we get them all the time, but not like. What, we got like a dozen people.
They probably all sent a message to each other like, you got to jump onto this one. This is a great one. You want to hear about
this one? Yeah. How can parents write? So I want you to kind of put some colors. You were just filling that out, and then into your close. What do you want to leave everybody with a final thought here before I throw you back in the green room? Leave the green peanuts alone. And we'll hook up and set up for the next one, because this deserves more hours, but we don't have it in this moment.
Okay. We can,
and so it deserves more time to go forward with it. So answer this, and then go into what do you want to leave people with as that final thought as we put back up your website, and because I'm going to take advantage of this too.
Okay,
please.
So just answering that question with families and whatnot, I mean, just the simple form is leading by
with
example.
Kids under stress. And let's face it, kids can be stressful. Yes. It is what it is.
So you cannot regulate kids or teach them that until you learn that yourself. You are the best educator for them. And even my son yesterday was just talking to me on the phone, and I asked him about baseball, and I'm like, did you do your breath work? And he's like, absolutely. I'm like, are you just saying that to make me happy, or you did yet? He's like, no, Mom, I actually did it, and I almost got a home run. And this is where it is leading by example. When you heal yourself and you work on yourself, your children will watch you. And when they see 100%. Your transformation, and this is where we don't shove things under the rug and hide it, we have them a part of our healing journey. We be brutally honest with them, because they're going to become adults one day, and they're going to need to learn how to actually manage to get through these things. And if you can't represent that and be the inspiration for them to see that you're human and that it is normal to go through these states, but how do you get out of these states and how do you handle these states? You need to lead by example. And the first thing to do of handling stress with children is managing your own stress first, and looking within yourself and learning how to regulate your own emotions first. And then through you doing that, your children will start to learn how by watching you. And you'll be in a better state to actually educate them. So that's the answer, simple, quick answer for that. Emotional shutdown form to protect the nervous system. Absolutely. Emotional shutdown is where we look at the attachment theory, avoidant behaviors. If you look into attachment theory.
You're not getting past that one. The attachment theory. I know attachment. I know theory. What is that?
The attachment theories there are 3 different theories. So based on our childhood, who our caregiver was, and how secure that relationship was, we grow into adults who have these inner child wounds, right? So unless you grew up with a caregiver who gave you secure attachment, which validated your feelings, your emotions, and whatnot, most likely you would not be a secured adult. And therefore, you get into relationships and we run into problems here because we have avoidant attachment or dismissive attachment or like, so I had to learn about that because I had to learn, why did my marriage fail? It's not just one ended. It wasn't just my traumas and stuff, but I also had to learn from my traumas, my childhood, what attachment style did I have, and how did that correspond to relationships, not just with my partner, but with family, friends, and everyone else, and my children. So understanding your attachment style is really important. I highly recommend to look into it. Emotional shutdown is a form of protection of the nervous system. Yes, because we don't want to deal with things emotionally. So how are you dealing with things emotionally? Are you avoidantly dismissing it, or are you avoidantly fearful of it? If you're fearful, you're always going to live in anxiety. Anything that is emotional to you is going to create anxiety, and you're going to need validation. So you're chasing after someone who's avoidant, dismissive, and avoidant, dismissive, they dismiss, they run. So then you've got this attachment of fearful, where this anxious person is trying to pull you in more and more and more to get answers, get validation, and get fulfillment. But then the avoidant, dismissive is running away from you because that's their avoidant behavior of dealing with emotional things. So yes, everybody, not everyone, but the majority of people are very avoidant. But what kind of avoidant are you, right? Otherwise, you'd be secured. And most secured people will not have the same behaviors as avoidant, dismissive, or avoidant, fearful, or you can be a combination of both. So I highly recommend to look into finding out more. There's tons of great podcasters and educators about attachment theories. And that was one of the things that I really had to learn. All right. So coming back to all of this.
What do you want to leave your fans? My God. What do you want to leave them with as a final thought? And I'll do a closing monologue. We'll hook up back in the studio.
So you're going to find more information if you follow my website, look at the story. My goal, mindwaveneurosound.com. The goal is Mindwave is not just a modality, it's a movement. I'm here to create a movement globally. I like to say that Mindwave will become the Zumba of modern day wellness.
Ooh, I like that.
Absolutely. We're here to train and facilitate people who want to educate and help other people, not themselves as well, and other people, to create this movement globally that educates people on a deeper level, understanding the nervous system and how to heal in a very simple form. All it takes, the hardest part is showing up. That's it. And we do the rest. Now, what I'm going to leave you with is that one quote that really changed my life is, you got 2 lives to live, and your second life starts the day you realize you have one. Your legacy isn't just the label of, who you are, how much money you make, what car you drive, or what's your career, and all those labels and titles. None of that matters, because at the end of the day, the one thing that matters most that you can take to the grave with you is your dignity and your soul purpose. What is your soul legacy? Sit with that, right? Forget about the legacy of the labels. What is it that is your soul legacy? And your legacy, I'm looking at my quote here that I have. Your legacy is the imprint you leave behind once your time is up. Choose to be remembered in your best light. The power to change the narrative is yours. So one thing I realize is that
that is so powerful. Give everybody a big wave. I assume. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm just gonna say one more thing here is from that quote. That was a quote that I came up with when I realized that I was chasing after the wrong legacy. The one thing that you can take with you to your grave, all the things that you can take materialistically, they're not coming with you no matter how much you kick and scream. But the one thing that people will remember you for when your time is up is how you made them feel. And you don't have to meet them and know them for the whole entire rest of your life. You can meet them in one short instant and say one little thing that will shift their mind or make a difference in their life. And I've done that many times. And I came to realize that it is how you make people feel that people will remember you for when you're long gone. And that is your soul legacy.
That is so true. And you tying that back into journey and how all of that, we can get into how you live longer because you're on a journey, centurions. There's so much more to talk about on number 2. Why don't you give everybody a big wave? Because I think we're going to get to know each other a bit.
Thank you, everybody. I appreciate it so much. And check out mindwaveNeurosound.com. If you have any questions, please feel free to message us and subscribe to our email list. That's where we send out a lot of this stuff. And we do take teachers to paradise. So you can find us in the Caribbeans hosting sound baths at all-inclusive resorts.
All right, I'm coming. That's another thing. You and I are going to be very, very, very good friends.
Yes,
All right.
yes.
All right, I'll see you in the green room in a
Thanks
second.
So much.
Another big wave.
Bye, everybody.
That was awesome. As advertised, and as my own expectations are and were for this show, it was every bit and more than I had hoped for. And so as we kind of wind down here, I just want to say, all right, hold on here. Let's just take a second, take a breath. We did that during the show, right? This conversation, that one right there, that wasn't just information. That was recognition. And for some of you watching right now, I already know that something just happened to me. Something just clicked, not in your head. Instead of analyzing it, you felt it. And you know what? That matters. It really matters, because what Jenny just walked us through, this idea that you can't outthink a dysregulated nervous system, that changes the entire conversation. Literally. It means that maybe, I don't know, just maybe you're not broken. You're not lazy. You're not falling behind. You've just been operating in a system that's been under pressure for far too long. I've been there, man. I get it. I love what she's saying here. And if that's true, okay, then the goal isn't to push harder. It isn't to grind more. It's to rebuild from a place of stability, to learn how to come out of survival mode and back into something that actually feels like you again. Wouldn't that be nice? And here's what I appreciated about Jenny. That wasn't about selling a miracle. It's not about bypassing pain. You heard that throughout. This is about understanding what actually is happening and giving you the tools that you can use right now in your real life, in your own life. Not someday, not when things calm down, but now. So here's what I want you to do. First, go back and listen to this one again. Really, seriously, not because I want you to look at it, but you know what? It's not because, don't make it in background noise, but listen to it intentionally, because there are moments in this conversation that are going to land differently the second time around. Second, connect with Jenny Lee. You got her information right here on stage. If this resonated with you, don't just move on. Lean into it, because this kind of work that doesn't just inform you, it can actually change how you experience your day-to-day life. Third, this is where we need you, okay? If you believe in conversations like this, like Jenny was saying, if you believe that the great middle class deserves real tools, real voices, and real understanding, then help us grow this. That's all. Check out my website, roddduff.com. The YouTube here at 1939. Support the show. You're helping turn conversations into real life impact. Follow me on Instagram. Follow Jenny on Instagram. As a matter of fact, I think you're streaming out today on Instagram. I know you have a really impressive Instagram account. Join me on LinkedIn. We stream there as well. I'm just going to bypass some of the notes that I had, because I'll say this, because it matters. The more you watch, the more you start to understand what we're building here. So you don't just watch one episode, watch a few of them. get a feel for the rhythm. The conversations and the people we are bringing to the table. It looks like some people are just coming on and adding some additional comments here. I'm going to put that up for you at Rodd Duff, mindwave_Jenny, Instagram. Okay, I'll pull these up for you here in a second, Jenny. I promise you, because this isn't just a show; it's a movement, a perspective, and as always, share this episode with somebody who needs it, because chances are, you know somebody right now who's carrying more than they're saying. Jenny, to this conversation, and to all of you watching, we'll see you on the next one. This is Insights and Straight Talk. I'm Rodd Duff, alongside producer Barbie, and like we always say, I'm out.
Before you leave, if you'd like to watch another one of the podcasts, click the first link in the description. We love having you here and we appreciate all your support.
And with that, producer Barbie and I are out. Connect.